President Obama this week completed a historic trip to Africa. Kenya, the birthplace of his father, was an especially significant stop for Mr. Obama, who is dedicating the remaining year and a half of his presidency to establishing a legacy that observers say is still too premature to define. VOA White House correspondent Luis Ramirez has more.
A trip to his father's native land seemed to culminate a streak of victories that the president had scored back home, including the signing of a historic Iran nuclear deal.
Today, after 2 years of negotiations, the United States, together with our international partners, has achieved something that decades of animosity has not: a comprehensive long-term deal with Iran that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon.
But pundits call the deal a gamble. How history judges Mr. Obama will depend on Iran.
If Iran does break out and does have nuclear weapons, and it even, if they even decide to attack an adversary or anybody, obviously that's a huge black mark on President Obama, his legacy. All of these negotiations will be seen clearly as a failure, and he won't ever be able to overcome that.
Among his foreign policy successes was the killing of Osama bin Laden, the end of U.S. involvement in Iraq and Afghanistan, and staying out of new conflicts. But the rise of the Islamic State militant group puts his Middle East legacy into question.
The reality is that when he leaves the White House in 2017, the Middle East is going to look much worse than when he came in 2008. Much worse right now. And he, fairly or unfairly, is going to get blamed for being too risk-averse and not being assertive enough.
He surprised many by restoring ties with communist Cuba.
A year ago, it might have seemed impossible that the United States would once again be raising our flag, the Stars and Stripes, over an embassy in Havana. This is what change looks like.
But the changes may not be enough to seal a great legacy, says Aaron David Miller, author of the book The End of Greatness: Why America Can't Have and Doesn't Want Another Great President.
A historic president? Absolutely. An undeniably great president along the lines of Washington in the 18th, Lincoln in the 19th, and FDR in the 20th? No. So the question is, what space will he occupy in the pantheon of 43 different presidents? That's right now very difficult to say.
Domestically, his election as the nation's first black president was historic. Many Americans credit him for steering the nation away from economic collapse after the biggest downturn since the Great Depression. And he pushed through Obamacare, the largest health care reform law in U.S. history. Yet his election has far from signaled the end of racism in the United States. At a eulogy honoring one of 9 people killed in a racist attack in South Carolina recently, Mr. Obama said no one should expect a transformation of race relations overnight. In what's been called one of the most poignant moments of his presidency, he led the congregation in singing a Christian hymn. Amazing
Grace, how sweet the sound.
That transformation, like much of Mr. Obama's legacy, may not be fully evident for years to come. Luis Ramirez, VOA News, at the White House.